All right, Happy New Year! Welcome 2026. You guys ready? Packed house. We're so excited for today. So let's jump through some save the dates. All right, coming up just in next week, Mike Ferry's production retreat. There are still spots available. We've negotiated really great pricing for you. If you would like to attend, you use this QR code right here, and you can sign up. And as Russ Orchard has said, it's on the same street as Disneyland. So, but go to the conference, okay? Yeah, that's not an extra sales point. Okay, and then our big award summit. So this is our annual award summit. Save the date. It is March 17th, right back in the same room. This is where we get to celebrate you, all of your accomplishments from this last year, all of your breakthroughs, your wins, and it's a really great time. So you won't want to miss that. March 17th. All right, the next virtual Unleash the Power Within with Tony Robbins, that is March 12th through March 15th. Again, use that QR code right there to register. We also are working on some really great pricing for the next in-person Unleash the Power Within, which you'll see us announce that in just a few weeks, where you can register. Whenever, just going back to that real quick, whenever you see us with these QR codes, with the Unleash the Power Within specifically, please, please, please use our QR code to register. It makes it so that you get even better pricing. It also makes it so that we can all sit together and have reserved seating. Has anyone been to a UPW event? Yes, amazing. Can the seating get a little tricky sometimes? Yes. So when you use our code, we will all be grouped together and we'll all have our reserved area. So please use it. Okay, we're excited to announce a new event for recognition that we have coming out this year. It is called the Top of Everest Luncheon, where this one is Save the Date, April 23rd. This is where we're going to recognize some of our top agents 2 times a year with a really great mastermind luncheon. We will send invites for those who qualify out in March, so keep posted for that, but save the date, April 23rd. All right, and Cross Country Mortgage, if you're here with Cross Country, please stand up. Big round of applause for our amazing work. Great books. This is from Cross Country Mortgage, so thank you, thank you, thank you. This is Mark's new book. But really, Cross Country has been doing such amazing things with our company. We are so grateful for all of the amazing, obviously, events like this, but even more so, the client experiences. These are real reviews from real clients that have worked with Cross Country, and take their word for it. They are doing some amazing things to get your deals under contract and closed and have raving fans and clients. So if you haven't used them, please give them a try. They're right in our office. And then another big thank you to Garbett Homes. Janie's going to come up here with Garbett Homes. Huge thank you for our delicious lunch they sponsored. Janie's going to tell us all the amazing things we have.
Thank you for letting me take just a minute of your time. I'm Janie Mathis from Garbett Homes. We are a local home builder to Utah and build high efficiency, contemporary, both townhomes and single family homes. So we're all along the Wasatch Front. I snuck a few handouts, I guess, kind of showing where we are. And we do have an upcoming community as well in Draper coming soon. So I just want to drive the point home that we absolutely love working with agents at Garbett Homes. We pay fair commissions. We put you in the deal, even after some silly prospects sneak in without you. We want you in these deals. So just know that we've got your back and we're eager to work with every one of you. Also, just a few things. We have spec homes right now that we cannot build for the price that we're selling them. So if you have buyers that want a new construction home, come snag one of these spec homes. They are fabulous, and to kind of incentivize this, we are offering a promotion right now for agents. For contracts signed this month that close at the end of March, so kind of triggered towards those quick move-ins, we are going to give you an extra $2,000. So come get that bonus, come see our models. My contact information is there, and I'm excited for today. Thank you.
That we don't have a slide for. Reminder that we have the Salt Lake Ford breakfast forecast. If you have tickets, that's tomorrow, right? Tomorrow. If you do not have tickets, it is sold out, but we will be broadcasting it in Union Park at 10 a.m. in the training room. So attend if you can make it. Again, that is a really great breakfast to get a good insight into what the market is predicted to do this year. It's great information for you and your clients. And then another housekeeping reminder from our brokers and our admin staff, renew your licenses on time, okay? Renew them. The way that you check is you go onto the DRE, and we can show you how to do this if you do not know when it's expiring. Please go look at when your license expires. We send out lots of reminders, but in case you missed them, renew your license. Okay, let's jump into our exciting anniversaries and awards. All right, our 5-year anniversaries: Zach Bunker, Brandon Danes, Alicia Polivoy Davis, Will Smart, Tim Young Long. Nice job, guys. If you're here. Will, by the way, if you didn't know, he's Elizabeth's little brother. So thank you for helping us connect this. All right, 10 years, Danette Gramp and Jason Snell. And 15 years, Lisa Street. We have our fourth quarter awards. So this is for $25,000 to $50,000 just in fourth quarter alone. Aubrey Kelly, Sherry Peck, Sean Hilton, Emily Aguilar, Brianna Burnett, Heidi and Darren Castaigne, Drew Gingell, Hannah McCrory, Taylor Yates, Tyson Mercer, Cassie Montano, Bowman Liu, Angel Ruiz, Rita Weddle, Keith Munden, April Oakes, Lillian Lobos, Jason Wheeler, Victor Jimenez, Carlin Bedwell, oh, I need like a Kevin Bassett, Alex Nickel, Becky Rodriguez, Steve Boynton, Hal Brugman, Dan Monch, Raul Vargas, Dayton Davis, Kevin Zimba, Rob Naylor, Curtis Perry, Chantal Flanders, Marion Ogden, Katie Marvel, Joanna Williams, Kurt Max, Aurora Nye, Erin Richardson, and Savannah Holm. Great job, you guys. And over here, 15,000 and 75,000 last quarter. Bryce Hansen, Mindy Daly, Allison Dobbs, Jay Lipdell, Adam Allred, Crystal Nearings, Tim Long, Chris Shirtless, Brandon McBride, Tyler Higgins, Derek Peachos, Jeanette Davis, Chad Kiefer, Jenny Dodge, Jessica Terry, Brady Warren, Deanna Haskett, Anthony Cerrito, Alicia Madsen, Josh Johnson, Tammy Jones, Ruby Reese, Nick Manville, Kelly Stoneman, and Miriam Drury. 75,000 to 100,000 in last quarter. Josh Skousen, Jenny Frame, Sage Harrison, Santiago Mendez, Zach Bunker, John DeYoung, Adam Durkler, and Delphina Corey. Continue Jeremy Laguerre, Garrett Wilkie, Austin Johnson, Jason West, Brandon Bland, Brenda Lee Jones, Jeremy and Chris Fitzgerald. 100 to 150,000 fourth quarter. Rich Castleberry, Lila Jessup, Dave Club, Aaron Christensen, Justin Crane. I see you here and you're not standing up. Stand up. 150 to 200. Austin Kills, Dave Parker, and Casey Anderson. 200 to 300. Amber Milton, Justin Udi, and Doug Perry. Brand new agent, 300 to $400,000 in fourth quarter Dallin Hills. 500 to 600, Brian and Ruthann Noel. Big month, you guys. 800 to 900,000, Brian Burnett. Now our team awards. 25,000 to 50,000. Castaigne Team, Traverse Advisors, Richardson Real Estate, and Novus Real Estate. 50,000 to 100,000. Black Rose Realty Group, Seesaw Lake Homes, Tammy and Kyle Jones, View Utah Homes, Utah Fitzgeralds, and Team Elevated. 100 to 200,000. TC Realty Group. $200 to $300,000. Josh Johnson Team, Utah Listing Search Team, Team Kruger, Everest Commercial. 300 to 400 in fourth quarter, Justin Union Team, Listings of Utah Real Estate Team. 500 to 600, the Noel Group. 500 to 600,000, View Utah Listings Team. The Elite Team. 1 million plus, the Burnett Group. Great job, you guys. Last year commercial awards. Fourth quarter, 25,000 and 50,000. Kurt Max. 200 to 300, that's a big jump. Everest Commercial, great job. All right, and now, as Dylan calls him Big George, we're going to welcome you to the stage.
How are you doing today? You guys, I'm really excited about today. Of course, we've got an incredible speaker. That would not be me. We've got Elizabeth Smart in the green room over here across the hallway, and she'll be up here shortly. But I'm just going to take a few minutes, just a couple of things. One, last year, pretty extraordinary year. We're pretty flat from 24 to 25 in regards to home sales, but we sold $1.4 billion worth of real estate in 2025. So give your guys stuff. Of course, I'm sure you're going to trust and verify, but what I love is that specifically the Union Park office is the #1 office, not only in the world for Century 21, but it's also the #1 office in the state of Utah, and that more home sales come out of that location than any other place in the state of Utah. So I say volume because we love to raise the volume, but I said transactions. So just know that, but it's really incredible to look at the number of homes that are being sold on that luxury market. You guys are doing some impressive work. It's incredible to see what you guys are doing. So with that, just know I'm really excited for 2026. I'm excited for where we're heading, what we're doing. I hope you are too. I think today is going to be an incredible moment where you're going to experience, I think, a whole level of emotions in regards to maybe what's possible for you and what you're capable of doing. How many of you are familiar with Elizabeth Smart and her story? Awesome. And you know what a story that has been. But I just wanted to first touch in on just a couple of things. You know, one of the things that I've noted in life is that you can't necessarily change the circumstances of what has happened to you. And you start looking at your life and you can even say, wow, that wasn't my fault. This isn't I didn't create this. I didn't create these circumstances. I didn't create these challenges. I'm not the one who did these things. I think every single one of us could look at that. In fact, I think even at times in this market, we will look at things like real estate, we'll look at the market, we'll look at the conditions of the market, we'll look at the rates, we'll look at the mortgage programs, we'll look at inventory, lack of inventory, affordability, all of these different things. And what is interesting is it's really easy to look outside of ourselves for ourselves to feel good about where we are. And I just want to point something out, that one of the things that I think is really incredible about people who persevere and who overcome is that it's not that they haven't had a circumstance that is beyond even explanation. It is the fact that it is how they responded to those moments and how they chose, and this is the key word, chose in their future to become. And I just want to point out that when you look at your life, of course, none of us could certainly claim the type of story that Elizabeth has, but each one of us has our own story. And we each have our own story, not in the sense of, hey, we're telling ourselves a crazy story, but a story of moments of tragedy, struggle, strife, and difficulty. And the thing is every single one of us has those moments in our life. And there will be moments where there will be setbacks. Hopefully they're temporary, as Napoleon Hill would say. There's going to be setbacks this coming year. There's going to be disappointments. There's going to be things that will happen. There'll be things that you didn't even realize were happening, and all of a sudden, tragedy strikes, difficulty comes about, whether it's in real estate or even in your personal life. So the question isn't really, are you going to have challenges and tragedy and struggle this year? Because I expect that you will. But the ultimate choice is what you choose to do from that point of the circumstance or the event that occurred in your life. And so from that point forward, it is your decision today to choose to be strong. That the event, the circumstance, the challenge doesn't overcome you. Although you may feel the pain, you don't become the pain. Your experience doesn't become your lifelong image or identity. Is that the experience becomes something, yes, you learn from, but it is also something that you take from and gain strength from. Even those moments, it is those last reps in the gym that make you the strongest. So I would just challenge as we move into 2026, and here we are at the beginning of the year, is that you have a decision to make, and that is you're either going to be the same as last year, you're going to be maybe worse than you were last year, or you can make the conscious and aware decision that you're going to be stronger than you were before. A decision that you will remain strong, that the difficulty, the challenge, and the strife and the struggle and those moments do not overcome you, but you choose strength rather than getting dialed in and sucked in to the problem, the challenge, or the difficulty. And as you do that, what I would tell you is you do two things, and that is that you become very resilient. Your resilience shines forth because all of a sudden, it wasn't the events that happened and the difficulty, the challenges, whether it be divorces, loss of people in your life, death, finance, health, whatever relationships, whatever it may be, it is your resilience and rising up above that. So I've said this for years. I've said it for nearly, I think, over 2 decades. And that is I'm so grateful that you're here, but I truly do not give one hoot about how much money you earn. I am thrilled at how much money this organization earns and how much you take. $36 million+ of commissions were paid out last year, which is incredible. I love it. But the reality is that is just a sign of one thing, and that is that who is it that you choose to become today? Who do you choose to become maybe as a father, a mother, a friend? Who do you choose to become in relationship to this business as a business leader? Someone who steps out and above everything, doesn't get sucked into market conditions and rates and problems, but rises above all of them because of your resilience. Well, all of that, to choose to be strong, to choose to be resilient, resides in one thing. It takes courage to do so. And when you look at what it takes to have courage, it doesn't mean there's not difficult moments. It doesn't mean that there's not challenges of fear and stress and strife and struggle. It simply means that you're willing to rise above it because courage takes over. That despite the fear, despite the scariness of the moment, you rise above it. You make the extra calls. You knock the other doors. You say the close that needs to be said at that moment. You get less concerned about rejection and being everybody's friend, but you tell people the truth. And then all of a sudden, you are committed more to truth, and you might even be more to peace. Because truth always creates conflict. And if you have courage, you speak the truth. And the truth always creates that conflict, and it will either separate you or unite you. But in the end, as we've all heard throughout time, the truth shall what? Set you free. So again, if you want a life of liberation and freedom and you want a life economically, emotionally, and personally, it's about living a life that is courageous, resilient, and has strength and power behind it. But so much of that is a decision that you make. Look, it's a simple deal. No matter who we may ever put up on this stage, if you would say of the company, whether it's me or someone else, the thing that is interesting is that tested through time, and frankly, maybe all eternity, is principles of truth. Meaning that you may hear a different story, but the principle of truth will be the same. In the end, people will feel the moments of abandonment, struggle, I'm not enough, maybe I'm not worthy, maybe I'm not good enough, whatever it may be that you've experienced. Here's what's interesting. All the emotions are about the same. Everyone at some point feels abandoned. Every moment someone might feel like they're not enough. Every moment someone comes in and says, man, I don't know if I'm worthy enough to even be loved. No matter what it is, the thing is it's a common thread amongst all of us because we're human. The difference is the story in how you got there. Because every one of us will feel things like that and ones I didn't mention. Because you're human. But the difference maker, the ones who rise above it, when you see the peace and the presence of someone like Elizabeth Smart, what you sense is someone who has strength, resilience, and unquestionable courage in the face of absolute tragedy. That is amazing to me. So if you haven't picked up the book, she's going to be here after to sign some autographs or sign your books. But the book is called Detours. If you haven't gotten one, make sure you get one out here in the hallway. But I just want you to know that this organization is committed to your greatness and you becoming the best version of you. We've got an incredible line for the future of our summits. Not only obviously we'll have Elizabeth, but we've got Elizabeth, we've got Mike Biedler coming next in regards to, I have our award summit, then we have Mike Biedler, the president CEO of all of Century 21, and we have some other things that we're working on to bring the level, to always raise the level, which you're doing too, to raise the level of what we're doing together. Because I have no doubt that not only, I'm not so concerned about that we're number one, I am concerned that we never go backwards and that we continue to rise above who we were the day before. So with that, are we ready to bring her? And with that, let us welcome Elizabeth Smart, and you know her story, Elizabeth Smart.
It's great to be here today. I just want to start off by saying be careful with your New Year's resolution and really, really careful with your New Year's resolution because if you're like me, you showed up bright and early to the gym and then I dropped a 45-pound weight on my foot. So don't do that. Be careful with your New Year's resolutions. I have traveled around all over the United States, been to all 50 states, and I can honestly say that I have never met a person who doesn't have their own story. I've never met someone who hasn't experienced some form of struggle in their lifetime. And it's so easy for people to come up to me and be like, oh, I went through something similar, but nothing in comparison. I just want to begin by saying, if you say that to me when I'm done, we will not be friends because we don't compare, because you can't. Like, it's just not possible. We're all so different that you could never accurately compare what one person goes through versus another. Even if they went through seemingly the exact same thing, we're each still different. So it's going to affect us differently. So please do not say that to me. Otherwise I'll be very offended. But as I was saying, I never, ever, ever thought that anything could happen to me. I remember being a kid, trying to envision my life, my what would happen, and I just could not imagine anything that remarkable happening in my life. I mean, I thought I'd finish junior high, finish high school, go to college, get married, and maybe, I was feeling really wild, I'd teach harp lessons out of my house. And that would be my life. Like, that's genuinely how I saw my life going. I just couldn't imagine anything that could make my life remarkable. And actually, I was fine with that, like totally fine with that. That didn't sound like a bad life. And so I remember just kind of carrying on in life. And I remember I was about to graduate from junior high, which I guess I can only speak for myself, but I'm just not sure that there's a more awkward time in a young person's life. I mean, puberty. Does anyone go through it gracefully? It's not me. I sure didn't. And I remember thinking if I could make it to high school, then all of the awkwardness that was me would just like evaporate. It'd be like flipping a switch. And I remember being so excited for high school and just looking forward to it. It was the night before I was about to graduate from junior high. Like I could have just almost taste what high school life, the pinnacle of life would be. I know better now. And I remember going to sleep, same as every other day. I mean, nothing different. And the next words I remember hearing were, I have a knife at your neck, don't make a sound, get up and come with me. And when I first heard those words, I thought, this isn't real. This is not happening. This is a dream. There's no way that this is real. So I didn't immediately respond. And then I heard the voice again, repeating the same words again. And this time I actually could feel something sharp lying across my neck. I could feel someone's hand on my arm trying to pull me out of bed. And I remember opening my eyes, and sure enough, there's this dark figure standing above me. And I remember what it felt like to truly be terrified. I mean, up until that moment, my biggest fears were like, I don't know, being told to go clean my room like 5 times, going up to my room, instead of cleaning, reading a book, and then hearing my dad's steps coming up the stairs towards my room. And honestly, like, what was my dad really gonna do to me? Ground me? I mean, I loved sitting in my room reading books, so that wasn't that big of a threat to me. I really didn't know what fear was before. And I remember in that moment just feeling like I don't have a choice. There isn't anything I can do except what this man is telling me to. My little sister is here in bed next to me, and what would happen to her if I didn't do what this man said? So I remember immediately getting up and doing exactly as he said. I remember he led me out through my house, and I remember he started leading me up into the mountains behind my home. I remember the farther we got from my home, the more scared I became. And I would say as a 14-year-old, I had a pretty active imagination. And my mind went to all sorts of places. And one of those places it went, what led me to asking him, if you're just gonna rape and kill me, could you please do it here? And he looked at me and he said, I'm not gonna rape and kill you yet, but it was important to me that if he did do it, that it was close enough to my house that, I don't know, mountain lions and coyotes wouldn't tear my body apart, and then my family never know what happened to me. I wanted to make sure that if I was gonna be killed, it was close enough to the house that my parents would know what happened to me and that I didn't run away. And in all honesty, I don't actually think they would have ever considered that I would run away, because honestly, I am not that rebellious of a person. I mean, my idea of like a fantastic night, honestly, is like Sunday evenings when my brother William and his wife Reagan come over to our house and we play a good game of Catan. That is like an awesome night for us, for me. I'm just not that rebellious, really. And so I didn't actually think that was like a huge possibility, but if anyone else ever thought that, I just wanted my parents to have that confirmation that I hadn't run away. But of course he said, well, that's not gonna happen yet. And then we went a ways farther, and I remember stopping him again and saying, well, don't you realize what you're doing? I mean, if you get caught, you will spend the rest of your life in prison. But if you let me go, it'll be like this never happened. It'll be like, you don't even have to walk me back to my house. I can get back there myself. Just please, please, please let me go. My family won't press charges. Just let me go. And I remember he looked at me again and he smiled again and he said, I know exactly what I'm doing. The only difference is, well, I'm not going to get caught. And not too much was said after that. And I remember we went on for, it was really hard to judge time. Because on one hand, I think I was so like just pumped full of adrenaline. Time seemed to stand still and speed up all at the same time. And on the other hand, like I could tell that the sun was coming up and I must have been kidnapped around 2 in the morning, I guess. And so I knew time was passing. And I remember he was in a rush to get me down off of the top, the ridgeline of the mountains because my pajamas were bright red. And he was like, oh, if anyone sees you, if anyone's out like running or hiking really early in the morning, I don't want them to see you. So he was in a rush to get me off the top of the mountain. We started down the other side when we came to this stand of trees. And honestly, to me, it looked just like all the other trees that we'd fought our way through. I mean, scrub oak is scrub oak, right? How different can it look? And yet somehow he recognized it and he brought me to the center of these trees and I saw how the mountainside had been leveled out and there was a tent set up. And outside the tent, there was some tarps lying on the ground and there were some tarps hanging up in the trees. And I remember this woman walked out of the tent. And when I first saw this woman, I was like, it's gonna be okay. There's a woman here. Nothing that bad could possibly happen to me. I mean, my mind, I think your mind is capable of incredible things. And my mind always goes to, it's not gonna be that bad. It's okay, it's okay, it's not gonna be that bad. You know, there's an innocent explanation to all of this. That is typically where my brain always goes. And so not my moment, when I saw this woman, my brain was like, they must have wanted a daughter. They must have wanted a daughter so bad that they kidnapped me. Because why else would anyone kidnap me? Like, as far as I knew, I didn't have any enemies. I didn't have anyone that just like hated me so much that they wanted me to disappear. Why would anyone choose me to kidnap? And I remember this woman, she hugged me. As soon as I got to the camp, she led me inside this tent. She sat me down on this upturned bucket. She took off my shoes. She started washing dirt off my feet. Then she started to try to undress me. And I would say I was very self-conscious as a 14-year-old. Then maybe this is going out on a branch, but I'm gonna go, what 14-year-old girl isn't self-conscious, you know? That was definitely me. And I was not ever comfortable being naked around anyone. And so having this complete stranger try to undress me, well, that was miles outside my comfort zone. I remember grabbing hold of the buttons on my pajamas and just begging and pleading with her to leave me alone. She really needed me to change. I could do it myself. And she passed me this long robe thing and told me to put it on. And I did. And I took my clothes off underneath because she said I had to. And then she scooped them up and she walked around the tent. And I remember just sitting on this upturned bucket, really just being in shock. I mean, how had this happened to me? Why had this happened to me? What was going to happen next? Were my family even awake yet? Did they know what was going on? And I didn't find out until later that actually my little sister, Mary Catherine, she's about 5 years younger than me, she actually was awake while I was kidnapped. She actually watched it happen. And she didn't open her eyes up wide because she didn't know what would happen to her if she did. She thought that the best course of action would be to just be completely still and barely even breathing. And you think about that, a 9-year-old girl seeing something like that, who wouldn't freeze? As an adult, who wouldn't freeze? Unless it was your child, and I feel like there's no limits you would go to. And so she had frozen, but she saw and she heard what happened. And then she laid there once he'd taken me out of the room, and she kept waiting for the alarm to go off because we had an alarm system on our doors. And the alarm never went off, and she heard the grandfather go off, she heard it go off again, and I think she even heard it go off a third time. She would have to be here to tell me if I'm right or wrong on that. But I think it was probably like 30, 45 minutes before she finally just thought, I have to tell mom and dad. And so my mom said how when she woke up, Mary Catherine had her ratty, nasty baby blanket wrapped around her shoulders and kind of draped over her head. And I guess when she first came into my parents' bedroom, she went to my dad's side of the bed, but he was in such a deep sleep, he didn't immediately respond. And then she went around to my mom's side of the bed and tried to wake my mom up. And my mom was like, Mary Catherine, what are you doing? Why are you out of bed? I mean, I feel like most of us parents have had that experience at some point in our life. We're like, oh, why are you staring at me? It's 3 a.m. What do you mean? And Mary Catherine was like, Mom, Elizabeth is gone. And my mom was like, no, she's not. No, she's not. Now, Mary Catherine, has like the kindest heart. And she's like, yeah, Elizabeth's gone. But I hated sharing a bed with her. Love her, hate sharing a bed with her. Because she's such a hot sleeper. She just like sweats in her sleep. And then if that's not enough, like she wants to be like right next to you, so it's like right here. And then she like pulls the blankets off. So not only is she radiating heat, she's stolen all the blankets and she hogs all the room. And so it would not be that uncommon for me to like go into one of my brother's bedrooms or go down into the kitchen and sleep on the sofa, just find somewhere else to sleep because I don't like being touched when I sleep. I mean, even now, I've been married for 14 years, like my husband and I, we've got a pillow wall down the center of our bed. And like, I don't cross to his side, he doesn't cross to mine. And that's how we both like it. But, so that wasn't that uncommon. But my mom's like, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure she's just been in another room. It's fine. Don't worry about it. We'll help you find her. At this point, my dad woke up. They went up. My sister in my room first, and of course I wasn't in there. They start checking the boys' rooms. In our house, the upstairs had all the bedrooms. You came down a staircase right in the center of our house, and then you could turn left and go into like the formal living room, which I don't know why they ever thought I'd go in there because that room, I feel like it was white everything, and you did not breathe in that room. That was like my mom's pristine room that you just did not do anything in. And my dad, he went left. I mean, I guess it's because it's my dad. He thought I would go into the living room. Crazy. And my mom, she ran right. And when you ran into our kitchen, there was like a whole bank of lights right as you entered the room. And she just like slammed her whole forearm up against the bank of lights. They all come on. And her eye just immediately went to the window above the kitchen sink where she saw it been forced open and the screen was cut. It was in that moment that she heard Mary Catherine saying, "You're not going to find her. A man came and took her." And she started screaming to my dad to call the police. And that's kind of what was happening on my family side. All still like middle of the night, darkness, maybe 3 a.m. at that point. But as far as I know, it was just chaos and pandemonium breaking out. And he started calling all the neighbors, "Are your daughters okay? Did you see anything? Did you hear anything? Elizabeth's gone." Police showing up. I mean, again, I wasn't there. This is all secondhand information, but as far as I know, it was just chaos. Meanwhile, as I'm sitting in this tent, after I've been bathed and changed out of my pajamas, wondering what was happening, I remember the tent door opening up, and in came this man who had kidnapped me. He had changed out of like the dark sweatshirt and sweatpants that he had kidnapped me in, and he had changed into this long sort of tunic-like robe, and he came over and he knelt down next to me and he started speaking. And initially I was like too caught up in my own thoughts and fears of what was happening to even listen to what he was saying. And then I had a thought that maybe I should, because maybe there would be some reason why he kidnapped me, or how long he planned on holding me hostage for, or if I could get a message to my family, or if there was ever gonna be a way for me to escape. So I calmed down, and that's when I heard him say that I was now his wife. And I mean, of everything I expected to hear, that was not one of them. I remember just screaming out no, because he had to realize this was not okay. He had to realize this wasn't legal. You couldn't just kidnap a child and then marry them. And I actually even tried to explain that to him, that every reason that I gave him as why this wasn't legal, why this wasn't okay, he actually had the same response to, which was, it's now time to consummate our marriage. And I'd actually never heard that phrase before as a 14-year-old girl. And so I didn't immediately know what he meant. And just like, I don't feel like my experience is probably that different from many of us here today, but in case it is, I'll just share my experience with you so you understand where I was coming from a little bit more. I first learned about sex from my neighbor and my best friend. It wasn't like some old man neighbor. It was age appropriate. It wasn't my best friend. And she was like, Elizabeth, have you ever heard of sex before? And I was like, no, what is it? And this was only like maybe like 2 years prior. It was not like, I led a very innocent life for a very long time. And she's explaining it to me, and I just remember looking at her completely horrified. She's saying, what is wrong with you? That is not true. And she's like, it is true. It is true. My parents had us all sit down. We all had to talk about it. And I was like, no, that's cannot be. She's like, it is. She's like, how else do you think babies are made? Not like that. My mom told me how babies are made. And you grow up and you fall in love and you get married, and then when you're ready to have a baby, you pray really, really hard. And that's how God sends you a baby. And that's how you get pregnant. She's like, no, Elizabeth, your last name's Smart. Come on. She's like, this sex is how babies are made. I was like, your parents have done that 7 times. And she's like, yeah, yours have done it 6. And I was like, I just can't believe it. Like, you get pregnant from men's magic pee. That's awful. And that was like how I learned, what sex was. And honestly, like, I hadn't really gotten interested in it yet. Like, I was a very late bloomer in lots of things. I mean, I hadn't even like held a boy's hand by that point in time. So, I mean, that was, all those other things were still far from my imagination. And as I'm sitting on this mountain, he keeps on saying, it's time to consummate our marriage. It's time to consummate our marriage. This thought came to my mind of what it could possibly mean. And I remember at first thinking, no, there's no way that one person could be that evil to force that on another person. There's no way that that's possible. And as he kept on saying it, I realized that actually, yes, those people do exist, because ultimately it didn't matter how much I cried or begged or fought back. He just eventually forced me on the ground and raped me. And when he was finished, he stood up and he smiled and he turned around like it wasn't a big deal and walked out of the tent. But for me, that felt devastating. I mean, in all my life, the tiny little bit of information that I had learned about sex, no one had ever talked to me about the difference between consensual sex and rape. Sexual violence. No one had talked to me about those kinds of things. So in my mind, it was all the same thing. In my mind, it was, one and the same. And I just remember feeling devastated because, I mean, how many times have I gone to church and sat there through so many lessons that are on chastity and purity and virtue? And what are they ultimately saying? they're saying, wait until you're married to have sex, which up until that point, I was always like, again? We're having this conversation again? Really? But having listened to that my whole childhood, all of a sudden I felt like, oh my gosh, I am unworthy. I am broken. I'm unlovable. I'm filthy. I am ruined. No one will ever want to have anything to do with me again. And I will definitely never get married. And if my parents know what happened to me, will they still want me back? Or will they say, oh, you know what, it's a good thing we had 6 kids because we still have 5 others, and 5 is still a lot of kids. Is that what they would think? I mean, I genuinely had those thoughts going through my head. Would it just be better for me to die now than to try to survive and live with this shame the rest of my life, be a pariah the rest of my life? I truly had those thoughts going through my mind. And at that point, I don't honestly remember if I fell asleep or if I just passed out. I just remember being in a lot of pain. And the next thing I remember was opening my eyes, and there was this man kneeling over me again. And this time he had a piece of metal cable, and he was wrapping it around my ankle, and he was crushing bolts into place so that I couldn't run away. And I remember standing to see what I was chained to. And I was chained in between 2 trees, and I had just enough slack to lie down inside the tent and then to reach the bucket provided. And that was it. I mean, it was maybe 12 feet. I mean, it wasn't a lot. And I remember just sitting down feeling like I had hit rock bottom, that nothing could ever be worse than this, that this was just the end. And I remember, as I sat there, I remember looking around the camp, I remember seeing how well supplied it was. I mean, there was food I could see, and there were water containers, and there'd been a lot of bedding inside of the tent. And I mean, I just remember seeing how well supplied this hidden campsite was, and I began to wonder, how long were they going to keep me for? I mean, clearly it was more than just today, but was it, weeks, months, years? I mean, why would someone claim to marry me and kill me tomorrow? That didn't make that much sense in my brain. And I remember the thought struck me that they might keep me forever. But I knew that I was a lot younger than them, so at the very least, I'd probably outlive them unless they killed me. And I remember just sitting there thinking about it and making up my mind that I was going to do whatever it took to survive. It didn't matter what it was, because the more I sat and the more I thought, the more I remembered my family, and I remembered my parents always being there for me, always, anytime I fell down, picking me back up and saying, okay, try again. Or, I mean, anytime I felt bad about anything at school. I'm not saying I always liked this attitude from my mom, but I do absolutely think it had a huge impact on my life. I should always say things like, Elizabeth, what do you do when you fall off a horse? You get back on. Get back on, exactly. And she never let me really feel sorry for myself if I was having a bad day. She'd always say things like, are you gonna let so-and-so decide your happiness? Are you gonna let them have that power over you? Honestly, sometimes I truly hate it. I'm told those kinds of things, because sometimes I'm like, I just want you to feel sorry. Let me just wallow here for a minute. But that also being said, because that was just like how my parents raised me, was you don't give up. If you fail, you go and you try again. Like if you fall down, you get back up. If someone's rude to you, you can try to address it, but at the end of the day, are you going to let that ruin your life, or are you going to decide, who and what makes you happy in life? And so I remember sitting there thinking about my parents, thinking about this advice that they always gave me, and then thinking more and more about them, and thinking about all the times that, probably every single hard lesson I ever had growing up, my mom sat through taking notes for me. And even when it came time for me to move from like my little small tiny heart to like a large harp with pedals. My mom sold her car to buy me a harp. And my dad, no matter how many times, no matter how big or small the spider was, when I'd be crying, standing on top of my toilet seat, asking someone to come kill it, he always came and would kill the spider. I just remember thinking of all the times that they continually showed up for me, and I realized that maybe nobody else would ever love me, maybe nobody else would ever accept me or want to have anything to do with me, but my parents would. They would always love me and they would always want me back. And so I made up my mind. Most important decision I could have made during my whole kidnapping, that I was going to do whatever it took to survive. And from that day forward, I did just that. Every decision I had to make was, what will happen to me if I don't do this? Will I survive if I do this? And that's how I made my decisions through life. And I got to a point where I had to stop thinking, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen. I have hit rock bottom, because somehow my captors would always find a new way to make me feel like I hit rock bottom. And so I had to switch that around, so that instead of being like, this is the worst, I'd be like, okay, this is pretty terrible. Like this is pretty bad, but it would be worse if it was raining today. Or it would be worse if my leg was broken and bleeding, or if I broke my foot. That would be pretty bad. Actually, I'd probably take a broken foot over that. But that's what I used to do. So I could at least be grateful for the situation that I was in, instead of continually being devastated every time something new came along. Now, I'll never forget the day that I was rescued. Honestly, probably only a few blocks away from where we're at right now. My captors had taken me to Southern California for the winter. I'd convinced them to return. We'd hitchhike back. Definitely not a mode of transportation I would encourage, but it did the trick. We made it back to Utah. We were walking up State Street, and all of a sudden a police car pulled up, and another one, and it felt like we were just surrounded by police cars. And truthfully, I was scared. This was not the first time we had been approached by police officers. And in the years since then, I've had so many people say things to me like, well, Elizabeth, like, you were approached by police officers before. Why didn't you just scream? Why didn't you just run? Like, why didn't you do something? But I would like to begin by saying I was a child, and I was in a situation where I was incredibly abused, and my captors would bring back missing flyers, and they talk about the search that was being put on for me, and yet no one ever found me. No one ever protected me. No one was ever there to stop my two captors from hurting me, to the point where they felt like they were invincible. I mean, they stole from grocery stores all the time. They lied. They got away with everything. They were master manipulators. And so it felt like they were always in control. And they had threatened me, saying, if you ever do anything we don't want you to do, not only will your life be at stake, but your family's lives will be at stake as well. And like, as an adult now, it's easy to say things like, well, no, he couldn't, that just is very unlikely that he'd be able to reach your parents or your family. But again, as a child, I thought, oh my gosh, I need to do exactly what he says, not just for my sake, but I have to protect my family as well, so that nothing can happen to them either. And so no, I didn't immediately speak up. I just said the things I'd been told to say. I had a captor standing on either side of me, so close to me that they were touching me. I mean, it was scary. And law enforcement, I mean, I'm not sure that anyone ever had any kind of sensitivity training back then, because they were aggressive. They weren't gentle. They weren't like, we're here to help you, like, just talk to us. It was, who are you? What are you doing? Why are you here? You need to answer our questions. Why are you being so difficult? I mean, it was just very aggressive. And that scared me even more. I mean, there's that common saying, know the evil you know is better than the evil you don't know. And I knew my captors, did not know the police. Knew what my captors were capable of, did not know what the police were capable of. And so no, I didn't immediately say anything. And it wasn't until one of the police officers actually separated me from my captors. Not a whole ton of space, just a few yards away, but at least to the point where they weren't physically holding on to me. And he started asking me again, you know, who are you and what are you doing? And then finally he says, you know, there's a girl and she's been missing out for a very long time. Her family has never stopped searching for her. They want her to come home more than anything else in this world. Aren't you ready to go home? And it was really only in that moment that I was finally able to admit who I was. I was then handcuffed and put in the back of the police car, and I thought, I said the wrong thing, but I definitely should probably have said that. I mean, I'm going to jail. I can't believe it. And I remember being brought to the Sandy police station, and I remember just thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to jail, I'm going to jail. Okay, in jail, I think you get a cot. And in jail, they have to feed you. They can't just let you starve. And in jail, I have not taken a shower in 9 months. Like, I think I might get a shower in jail. You know what? Jail does not sound that bad. Jail actually sounds pretty good, like a pretty big step up from here. So even if I go to jail, it's gonna be okay. And right about that moment, I remember the door just burst open and it was my dad who came running into the room. And he just came over to me, just picked me up in this huge hug, and he was crying and crying. And said, Elizabeth, is it really you? And it was in that moment that I was like, it actually is gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay because my dad's here and he's never gonna let anyone else hurt me the way that these two people have hurt me the last 9 months. It's gonna be okay. Honestly, the rest of the day, I was taken to Salt Lake Police Headquarters, I was taken up to the hospital. I remember finally getting home that night and I felt like a princess. There was like carpet and running water and there wasn't a ton of food in the fridge. I mean, thank goodness for neighbors and family who were taking care of my family because otherwise they may have starved to death. But there was still something. And I just remember just feeling like everything in that moment that had been taken away from me had all of a sudden been given back. And I remember I didn't want to miss out on anything ever again. And the next day I was in my mom's room talking to her. And she said, you know, Elizabeth, what these people have done to you is terrible. There aren't words strong enough to describe how wicked and evil they are. They have stolen 9 months of your life away from you that you will never, ever get back. But the best punishment you could ever give them is to be happy, is to live the life you always wanted. And now, since the day of that advice, I have had many, many years to think about it. And there's been some times when I'm like, what the heck, Mom? You just want me to like brush it under the rug? But that can't be healthy. I don't think she meant that. I don't think she meant like if you're feeling sad, you just put on a happy face. I don't think that does any of us any good. But I think what she meant was don't ever give up. That life can be hard right now, but even if you don't feel happiness right now, believe in happiness. And I feel like that's pretty good advice for all of us because, again, I know that every single one of us has our own story. We've all experienced our own worst trauma, and we've all survived it. We're still here. We've all survived the worst days of our life thus far. And it is so easy. It's easy for me. Also, I'm going to say it's a lot easier for me to say all these things and actually always follow through with these things. So just bear that in mind. Like, I'm normal. William can attest to that. Or as normal can be. But like, it's okay to have bad days, but don't ever give up on yourself because life can still be so wonderful. I think we live in a world of labels, and I know like for a lot of people, those labels mean everything, but I would argue that actually they can be highly detrimental because we're supposed to grow and we're supposed to learn new things. And like if I always just label myself as like a kidnap victim, how would I ever be able to move on past that? And so I think it's just important that we don't place ourselves in little boxes. We don't compare ourselves to anybody else. We recognize our own struggles, and that they can be so hard and they can be devastating, but they don't actually define who you are. I mean, shape our lives, absolutely. There's no way, but there's not a chance in hell I would be standing up here today, nor would anyone want me to, had I not been kidnapped. So absolutely, my kidnapping has affected my life, but I don't feel like it's defined who I am. Yes, it's taught me so much compassion. It's given me so much understanding for what other victims go through, not even just victims of kidnapping and sexual abuse, but domestic violence, of those victims who never see their perpetrators publicly named or prosecuted. I mean, I feel like it's given me so much more compassion than I otherwise would have, and I'm grateful for that. But I don't feel like it defines who I am, and I don't feel like any of our worst experience have to define who anyone is. Change our lives? Sure. Alter our direction? Sure. But ultimately, I feel like we define who we are by the choices that we make. Do we give up? And giving up is not always like a bad thing. Sometimes, yeah, continuing on that path is futile or leads to unhappiness. So, sometimes maybe giving up is the right choice. But also, do we keep reaching for happiness in our life? Do we keep working towards a better life? And I think all of us are so capable. I have so many people. Sorry, I know I'm going on, and oh yeah, I'm definitely over time. So I will wrap things up here real quick. But I have people all the time say things to me like, "Well, Elizabeth, like you're so strong, you're so resilient. Like I could never go through that." But if I had known what I was going to go through, if someone told me or told me their story and it had been something similar to mine, I'd say the same thing. I'd say there's no way I can go through that. Wow, you're so strong. That sounds like my children outside the door. Sorry about that. But now I'm off track. It'll come. Just give me a second. It's coming. And again, maybe not. But I guess ultimately what I'm saying is life is full of ups and downs, but even in our darkest moments, we should never ever give up, because there are more good people in this world than there are bad. I think you'd actually find if we all talked about our worst days, I think we'd find a lot of us have things in common. So many times our worst days make us feel like we're alone, that nobody else understands what you've been through or has been in that same situation. And maybe they haven't been exactly the same, but I think you find that there truly are more good people in this world than there are bad people. And I think that you would realize that you're not alone. And I think when you realize that you're not alone, I think that's half the battle in facing whatever struggle you're facing, is knowing that you're not alone, knowing that you have people around you. So my suggestions would be, when you have something terrible happen, is number one, it's okay to grieve whatever it is you've lost. The life you imagined for yourself, the family member who died, maybe the sale of the house that didn't go through. It's okay to grieve those things. But don't give up. Find your people. Find the people who you can rely on. Find the people who, if you had to, I'm not saying do this, but if you had to, you could call them at 3 a.m. in the morning and they'd pick up and they'd be there for you. Find those people. Find your family. Then I would say, again, don't compare yourself, because comparison doesn't do anyone any good. It always makes you feel worse than yourself. I'm sure there's some study out there today saying that if you're on Instagram or social media all the time looking at all these people, you're just going to end up feeling worse about yourself. I don't know. I can't exactly cite one, but I feel like there's probably something out there like that. Don't compare yourself. And then as you go along in life, find things that you can be happy about, find the good things in your life, find the silver linings in your life. I mean, again, for me, it was, learning to have a greater amount of compassion, recognizing what other people are going through, not just seeing my life through my own narrow lens, which honestly, sometimes I still do. But I am so grateful for the life that I now have that I would not have had otherwise. I'd like to think that had I not been kidnapped, I would care as deeply as I do about other victims, about other survivors. But truthfully, because it didn't enter into my world, I don't know that I would. So that's a silver lining to me that I'm grateful for. I'm so grateful for the greatest gift my parents ever gave me, which was their unconditional love. And as a parent now, there's a lot of things I tell my kids, but that is one thing that I always just want them to know. There isn't anything that they could ever do that would make me love them any less. So if you have kids, definitely make sure they know that you love them unconditionally. And finally, I want to say thank you. Thank you for having me today. Thank you so much for listening to me. It's been a pleasure, and God bless all of you.
Well deserved. Gosh, what a story. And by the way, the one thing I always remember is your father never gave up. It was awesome. I still remember standing at these press conferences watching him, and just wherever wanted him to quit, he never did. You have a great legacy. So it's awesome. As I understand it, you're going to maybe sign some books in the back, and so she's got kind of a cutoff here in about 30 minutes or so. But thank you so much for sharing your heart, your story, your message, and very touched by it. Thank you.
Good job.
I was going. I was doing it, yeah. Hey, cool. Good, how are you? Good. I can wait. I'm good. Good, yeah, we're great. Yeah. You did, yeah. Until you got sick. You got sick like New Year's, like the day after Christmas. Did you? Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, my husband and I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't get sick. My wife, she got sick, you know.
She did. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was the worst.
I don't know how we missed it.
Yeah.
All three of our kids got sick.
My entire family, like my in-laws, like everyone got sick.
I
Except for me.
feel like it happens every year.
Yeah.
Christmas break, and it's the worst.
It is,
because we're
yeah.
sick the whole break.
So it's holidays, and it's like everybody's traveling. It's like, yeah.
Well, I think it was my daughter's fault.
Oh,
We traveled to Vegas right before Christmas.
yeah. Oh, okay.
And then she was the one that got sick.
Yeah.
Came on the 23rd, then 2 days later, my other boys.
Yeah.
And 3 days later, my other boys.
Yeah.
Oh, for that one. I didn't call you out.
Sweetie, for
I
what?
didn't call you out.
For what?
I was like,
Oh, yeah.
everything is hated on.
You should have. You can do it. Use me as the bad example. So, yeah, it's alright. I would have.
Mine too. Get this out of you guys.